appreciate it. So there are two kind of images and analogies I want you to keep in mind as we talk today. First one is a bridge. I don't know anybody who's ever built a bridge and they don't know where the bridge is going to end up, right? That would just be ridiculous. For some reason, from point A to point B needs help connecting. So we build a bridge. We went to San Francisco this year and we actually tried to walk across the bridge, and that was just dumb. It was windy, it was wet, it was foggy, it was cold, and I had 3 teenagers. I was dragging across it going, we're gonna make memories. And the fog made it very, very difficult to be able to really see where you're going, see who was coming. Bikers are scary, so you gotta stay in your lane, right? That bridge is a whole nother world. Well, the bridge is one image, but another image is this idea of adjusting our lens. So how I see the world and how my ELL students see the world can sometimes be very different. And that fog that I talked about that was around that bridge, sometimes our ELL students are walking in a little bit of a fog. Can I get an amen? Yes. For whatever reason, they have lots of things on them, and we're going to talk about some of those later. But for now, keep in mind the bridge and the lens analogy. If you have a smart phone or any device with you and can scan that, we are going to do a quick word cloud. Can you grab your devices? Go ahead and grab them. Open up those cameras. Share with me one word that talks about what issues keep ELLs from engaging in the classroom. You're going to see the words pop up here in just a minute. And if you see a word that you're like, oh yeah, I totally agree with that, type it in again. It'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger as we go. If you can't see the QR code, don't worry, I'm going to put up instructions here for you to text it to us. So we have all things. Nice, you guys are already going. All right. Oh, no, we want to show responses. Is it working for you? Because it's giving me a weird message. Yeah. All right, here's your directions by text if you need them. Give everybody just a minute. Think about what situations or fears keep ELLs from engaging in the classroom. You can put a couple words in there if you want to. Try to give me 2 or 3 answers. If you see one you like, maybe type it in again. Yes, the directions are still at the top if you'd rather text in. Someone's very loud down there. Yeah, if it gets too hot, we'll open it again. Thanks. All right, just a couple more. I see trauma, fear, embarrassment, language, that they're different. Failure, understanding. I love that someone put directions. That's one we overlook sometimes. All right, take just a minute. Look at this word cloud that we've created here. And what I want you to think about is the fact that each one of these has a different layer of influence within a child's understanding of not only their ability, but also their value. So it's my job to make sure some of these things go away and do not influence their learning as much as we would. All right, I'm going to clear those and do this, and we're going to get right back into it. Hopefully, maybe, kind of, sort of. All right, who are ELLs? It's really as simple as this. ELLs are identified by a check in a box. Boop, boop. When somebody signed that kid up for school, there's a question on there. Does anybody in the home speak any language other than English? And they put yes, because they're being honest. Grandma speaks German. Well, your kid's ELL. Wait, what? The trajectory of my child just changed because I checked a box? This is where your ELL teachers and your location and your building are so, so valuable, because ELLs can be such a broad range. In fact, let me read you the federal government's definition of what an ELL student is. It's someone whose difficulties in speaking, reading, writing, or understanding English language may be sufficient to deny the individual the ability to meet the state's proficient level of achievement on state assessments, the ability to successfully achieve in classrooms where the language of instruction is English, or the opportunity to participate fully in society. Those are some limiting statements. And can we just be honest? I know a lot of people that don't have an ELL tag that match all three of those, right? So we have to stop thinking about ELLs as saying, well, you're ELL, because that doesn't mean anything. I refuse to believe that my child cannot fully participate in society because they are identified as ELL. I refuse to believe that they cannot be successful in my classroom because they're identified that way. Kansas definition takes some of the same things. They call them limited English proficient pupils. They're defined as national origin minority pupils. So your origin is now a minority, which is really not fair to say because they're not a minority anymore. It's very hard to even find true nationality anymore. We all human beings. Okay, anyway. Or because of their inability to speak, read, write, or understand the English language are excluded from effective participation in the educational programs offered by a school district. Excluding students, excuse me? We're going to take the ELLs and put them in a room over there with coloring books and say good luck? See you at graduation? No. And I love that Olathe has never subscribed or ascribed to that approach. But the fact remains we have some people with those kind of lenses on that unfortunately identify our students that way. I'm going to go back one. They are the fastest growing segment of the school-age population, and this might shock you. 85% of elementary students, 62% of secondary were what? What's it say? They are United States citizens. Anybody around you ever said, those immigrants, don't slap them, but in your mind, think to yourself, you have no clue what you're talking about. That child was born here. They are a U.S. citizen, just like me. But they're in a situation that is not like me, where maybe their parents or their family did not come here or were born here. Maybe they're second, third generation, and everyone before them is this close to being sent back to their home country. Can you imagine the pressure and anxiety they live with? The really only consistent thing about ELLs is that they're inconsistent. Remember that checkbox? ELL tags can apply to people who are absolutely thriving at grade level with their peers, and the folks who are juniors in high school and don't know the alphabet. They're all ELLs. Their language, their culture, their previous education, it's all about context. Listen to this. And I'm not saying anything bad about our programming or how we do things in Olathe, but I need you to understand this because I need you to be an advocate for these kids. According to a study in 1981 by Cummins, and you can look this up, I'm not making it up, he determined that immigrants, people who are new to the country, 2 to 3 years, basic language skills. I can say hi in the classroom, I can make jokes, I'm here. I have no ability yet to write an essay, to take a test, or understand high-level academic language. How many years?
2 to 3.
2 to 3. So that kid that got to your room and you're wondering why at the end of the year they still can't write, 2 to 3 years. It takes 5 to 7 years in order for them to really get their cognitive academic language. 5 to 7 years. The brain, that's what it takes. But here's where it gets really interesting. Cummins found that if I'm 12 years or older and I come to a new country and I've had schooling in my own home language, okay, that's an important variable. I've been told how to read, write, and speak in my home language. It's only going to take me, and I'm going to make sure I do this right, 2 years to reach my peers' level of standardized testing in math, and 5 years to be completely equal with my peers in all the other domains. Wow. But if I come to this country under the age of 4, and I never got schooling in my home language, it takes me 6 years, and I still don't reach 50th percentile. Take a minute and think about it. In his study, he found that children under the age of 4 who are not given excellent, prescriptive, explicit instruction how to write, read, and speak in their home language, when they miss that element and we just cram English down their throat every minute of every day, and then they go home and they learn whatever kind of language is being spoken there. I had students from Africa who spoke a tribal language that no one knew. When they don't have a foundation of how language works, why do we think they're miraculously going to wake up and understand verbs and nouns and adjectives? Does this mean it's impossible? No. But it means the lens that we look at them through needs to have a better context and base to it. Everybody good? Okay, don't get sad on me or anything, because it's okay, it's hopeful, and it's going to be fine. They are higher risk for negative student outcomes, of course, stress at home. They really get low scores on almost everything. They have a really high dropout rate, and they have a lot of anxiety. 10 years, friends, 10 years. They will be 40% of the K-12 population. If you don't have an ELL student, but you will, they coming. And remember, there are a wide range of them, so let's be prepared. In fact, in the United States, there's 25 million limited English proficient folks living. 2 million of them were children. What was that, 5 years ago? They're in your classroom now. And that number's only growing. We'll get new statistics now that we're in 2020. We'll do the census again. In Kansas, 11% of our students are ELL. That might surprise some people. Texas is 17. We're not that far behind. California is at 20, Arizona at 6. And when it comes to the race and ethnicity of ELL students, of course, our largest group is Hispanic. You can go to government websites like the migrant website things, and it will show you the main groups that are within each state. And if you look at the map from 5 years ago to now, it is incredible how different it has changed. All right, so let's jump into some variables that impact learning. Look at that list for just a minute. Think about the kiddos you've worked with, or ones you might work with. And I want you to think about which one of these you think would have the highest impact on learning within your content area. Anybody want to share one?
I think language or self-efficacy.
Yeah, standing up for yourself. And if I teach chemistry, the vocabulary alone for my English speakers is difficult. How am I going to help this kid from China who doesn't know this? All these variables impact learning. Think back to your Teaching 101 classes. You ready? Here's a little flashback in time. Everybody remember the effective filter? Yes? That is the filter that either rises or falls depending on those variables. Think about each one of those as being one of the bricks that are here. So I have this comprehensible input, and my brain wants to take it, but this affective filter is here, and it's blocking it from coming in. Because all I can think about was the fact that I had to wake up at 6 a.m. this morning to make lunch for my dad and the guys who are renting out my room because my mom is trying to make rent, and I got to get my little brother after school, and ICE might come today, and I heard we have to take this filter and lower it so that all that language can get through into the language acquisition device and into our deeper level thinking. It is our job to lower that affective filter and make sure that it is not in the way. So we have to adjust our lens and influence their learning. So you ready? I've got a little visual for you. These are my dad's glasses. He left them here over winter break, so it's his fault. These are my dad's readers. Anybody in here wear glasses or contacts? Anybody? Most of us do, right? I saw double up until 3rd grade. They thought I was just the clumsiest, weirdest child ever, but really I was just trying to pick which step was the real one. Mm-hmm. Suddenly they learned she's seeing double. So they got my glasses, and all of a sudden I saw the world like everybody else did. It was pretty awesome. So I want to go back to something. I'm going to take some of these things and think about your cloud bubble that you made. And I'm going to use a little Q-tip here, and I'm going to say that this Vaseline represents some of those variables. So I'm an ELL student sitting in your classroom. I'm looking through these glasses to try to learn what you're telling me. But then I remember that my grandma just died, and we're not going to be able to go home and see her. And I have no idea what you're saying. You talk so fast, and you look at the board the whole time you're talking, and I'm so lost. and you just keep raising your voice at me every time I do it wrong instead of saying it a different way. And my parents, they said, we came here to America so you could get an education, you better get an A. And my stepdad, he said he's gonna send me back to Guatemala if I get in another fight. Now, when I put my glasses on, how I view you and your curriculum is very, very different. So, today, we're gonna take engagement, I'm gonna pretend this is it, through movement, and we're gonna hope that some of these activities that are around the room that you're gonna explore here in a minute will wipe away a lot of that stuff and help clear it up for them and help them be able to push through that and then put their glasses on and actually be able to learn. So let's look at our lovely diagram here. The first point of getting students to be achievers is through motivation. So let's think about it through the lens of a student. If none of my peers are involved in what you're doing, if you put me with all the people who speak my language every class period, and I never get the opportunity to be with others and see their motivation, I'm out. My glasses are completely blacked out, basically. If I don't feel like my teacher really cares if I'm there or not, I'm not motivated. And if the curriculum is so over my head and has never been scaffolded or broken down for me, I'm out. How you motivate a child, this is the gateway in. That leads to engagement. I am motivated, she cares that I'm here, he said something about my sporting event that I had last week, he remembered my mom from conferences, now I'm engaged. I'm pulling my peers with me. I'm talking to the teacher, I'm asking questions. And the curriculum, I'm saying, I don't get that, but the teacher told me I just had to focus on this, so I can do that. If I'm motivated, I'll engage. And when I engage, that's when I achieve. This is the order how things go. I do want to give credit for where this came from. This came from an amazing book called Taking Action on Adolescent Literacy, and I actually have some snippets from it up here. This is an ASCD book. I've printed out chapter 1 because it's just so awesome, and they go way more in depth in this than we will today. But for us today, movement is going to be how we get these three things together. So, the role of engagement, let me give you some rules. You ready? If you're engaging correctly, these things should be happening. There should be a connection with peers, interaction without what? Rejection. I'm not going to make fun of you. I'm not going to say, well, that was lame. You're interacting, and that's all that matters. I am going to recognize the dignity of your expertise. So the kid comes from Nepal, we know nothing about them, but all of a sudden we have this engagement opportunity and he's over there drawing something, you're going, whoa, you're an expert. Allowing them space to be able to show who they are. Their language and content acquisition should be happening simultaneously with true engagement. This should not be a waste of time or an extra. It supports your curriculum. And then, of course, safety and support. We're going to talk about that with simulations in a minute. All right? 4 essential questions for engagement. Don't necessarily need to write these down, but they are on the back. This little acronym, SCORE. If they are finding success, well, under what conditions will students feel they can find success in your classroom? Originality, relationships, and curiosity. So you need to be thinking about these questions as you go to whatever station you choose later. Which one of these 6 strategies will provide success, curiosity, originality, and relationships? All of them will at different levels, but it depends on what grade you teach, what content area you're in, and what you're up against when it comes to your students and their behavior. Yes? Some students we can trust a lot, some not so much. So here's a quick way to remember it. Success is the need for what?
Mastery.
Mastery. I don't care if they master matching vocabulary with a definition. Can we please rearrange and redefine what we consider to be mastery? Because some of our ELLs need a minute. Curiosity is the need for what? Understanding. I really do understand. Remember the difference between knowledge and understanding. Knowledge is just, oh man, I'm just dying in this room with me and the tape. Knowledge is just having an awareness. Understanding is being able to explain it. We want our ELLs to explain it. I told my science teachers this one time. I said, listen, I know you believe all of your content is important, and it is. But instead of teaching everything at the surface level, I'm going to challenge you to choose the 2 things in this unit you think are important and go deep. Because I want these ELLs to understand those 2 things. Even if that's all they get this quarter, that's a win for them. Please let them have that freedom. Originality is the need for what?
Self-expression.
Self-expression. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your perspective. I want to hear where you've been. And relationships are the need for involvement. Again, please don't stick kids always. You have to sometimes, but not always with the students who speak their language, because that tells them you don't really belong here. You're with that group. It's almost a bizarre way of segregation. All right, you ready for strategy? Say yes. Yes, okay, some of you need to. Woo-hoo, here we go. All right. Strategy 1, it's the old TPR. Everybody knows it, total physical response. All right, you're going to actually do this with me. You ready? Stand up. Please. Stand up, stand up. Take one hand, put it out in front of you like this, flat right here. Take your other hand, put it right here in the front. Say it with me. Declarative. Declarative. Take your pointer finger, point to the thing, say interrogative. Interrogative. Let's do it again. Go. Declarative. Interrogative. And point it in and see it. Imperative. Imperative. It's very important. Listen to me or you're going to die. That's the middle school teacher in me. Here we go. Go. Declarative. Interrogative. Imperative. And then my favorite jazz hands. Exclamatory. Go. Exclamatory. Yes. So I've just taught you the 4 types of sentences. Sit. Did I come up with anything super amazing? No. We pointed at stuff. Did I have to be the one to come up with it? I could have asked my students to do it. My kids were too low. They needed some help. But on a test, when I'm asking them things, I'd sit there and watch them go. And they'd write it down. Using the body, connecting the 2 hemispheres of the brain, it makes such a difference. Let's think about the lens that your students are looking through with this. Is this safe? Oh yeah, everybody's doing it. Nobody's looking at you. Is it repetitive? Yeah. Is it modeled? Yes. This is a very great place to be if I'm an ELL and my lenses are covered with the anxiety of life. Strategy 2, Tableau. Anybody used it? No? Okay. Tableau is also known as snapshot, but it's literally taking the content and having the kids use their bodies, no movement, no sound, and they have to make a snapshot of the concept. I've seen math teachers do this with angles. You get an angle on a different, note card, and I give it to you, and you go out in the hallway, and you take a picture of it, then we all come back in, and that's our quiz for the day. And I put up the picture of the 3 and say, well, what angle are they showing you? What's this, what's that? But they have to show with their bodies that they understand it. Now, what lens does that do? That's one of those situations where I probably would put everybody together that speaks the same language, because guess what? I get to let them be free to speak in their home language and dream together and be creative and show me what they've got. It's your call. All right, what's the first one? TPR. What's 2? Tableau. Here we go. Strategy 3, simulation. This is more than just games. This is interacting with or recreating what we study. I have a little caveat to give you here, and I'm hoping that this link works. All right, if you have never visited teachingtolerance.com, fantastic website about equity and accountability for people of all genders, races, languages, everything else. It's an amazing resource. It just keeps me aware, right? I want my lens to be one that accepts all people. Classroom simulations, proceed with caution. This entire article, and this is the one I want you to look at, be careful that it's really a teaching tool and not a trauma trap. If I do a simulation where I simulate the colonists going to Africa and taking the slaves by force, and I make a student who maybe was taken by force from their home, I don't know that I'm doing it, but I've got to be careful. In fact, in this article it says you really shouldn't attempt simulations unless you've been teaching for a minimum of 5 years, that you have your own children. I didn't say it, they did. And that you really know your students' backgrounds. This is not something you can just walk in and do, okay? So that's my just little caveat there. All right, what's the first strategy? Come on, people, here we go. Second. Third. Fourth is songs, movement, and music. Do you have to be a good singer? No. Do you have to play instruments? No. I know someone fell down. But what you do have to do is be open to the fact that some of your students are really good at music, and they really can come up with things. If you go to that station later, it's fantastic what these kids have come up with. It's the yellow one over there. My sad one that I came up with was, are you ready? Evaporation, condensation, precipitation, runoff. And we would do it over and over and over again. And that was the water cycle. And that's the only way my kids, I don't even think they knew the words they were saying, but they loved it. They were 8th graders. 8th grade. Don't think high schoolers are too cool to do music. They're not. In fact, they're the ones that get into it more because they think they can express themselves or whatever. All right. What lens are we looking through? Maybe I can use my cultural music. Maybe I can bring something to the classroom that you didn't have before to show a concept that we're studying in class. Wouldn't that be awesome? Strategy 5, virtual and augmented reality. You do not have to have the little glasses and all this. We have so much technology in this district. It is at your fingertips. The virtual and augmented reality is all back here in the pink at that station right there, and it is fantastic what happens. One of my favorite examples from this is when I would get a new student, I would ask to see their file and try my best to find where exactly they were from, what mountain village, where they came from. I would pray to the internet gods that Google Earth had gotten there, and about 3 or 4 days in of them being there, I would have up on the screen the picture of wherever I think they kind of came from. My favorite one, the one I really won on, was my little guy came in and tears came to his eyes. It was a visceral reaction, and he ran to the screen. He said, "Abuela, abuela." I said, "Was that your grandma's house, buddy?" "Sí, mi abuela, and he just went on in Spanish, and I was like, "Someone help me." But it was his moment to reconnect with a place that held a really special place in his heart. If that's not motivation, I don't know what is. That little boy felt like I had seen him, that I knew him. And you know what? Even if I just assigned him to tell us about where he came from, how great is that in our class? I love that we're in a history classroom today because their history is really important to them. Quickly, what's the first one? Second. Third.
Simulations.
Fourth.
Songs.
Fifth.
Virtual.
And the last one, brain breaks. I know you've used these a lot, but I want to challenge you today to think about how you can help the language and learning gaps be bridged through brain breaks. All right. One of my favorite examples is just being able to remember, well, I'm going to skip to the lens actually. Think about it. If I was up here speaking in Chinese right now, and you were having to listen to the Chinese, figure it out, think about it in English, figure out what you're going to say, then go back and say it in Chinese, you would be exhausted. You already are exhausted right now. You and I are speaking the same language. Wouldn't it be nice if I gave your brain a minute to breathe? We have to let them recharge, and that's what brain breaks do. My kids would end up actually raising their hands saying, "My brain is tired." I said, "Okay, let's go. Which one do you want to do?" They kind of had our top 4 favorites. And we do middle school. I did it with high schoolers too. They need a minute. All right, so here's how this is going to work. It is 9:40. I was hoping to have you out of here at 10. We're going to be pushing it, but we can do it. I want you to go to one station, and I want you to stay there. I don't want more than probably 6 people at each station. And we're going to go through and review them really quickly. This is TPR. There's a bunch of QR codes at each one. I have the times written next to them. Are you going to be able to see each one? No. So pick one, look, watch a little of it and go, "This stinks," and then move on. Or, "Hey, this is great, I'll watch it later." Leave it in your browser. Then, up here, you are going to review and refer to your scorecard, right? Your mastery, understanding, self-expression, and involvement. Those are the 4 words you're going to use. You are going to identify activities that you can do with that strategy, that movement, within your grade band or subject, and you're gonna put the ELL, or learning goal and everything else on it. You ready? Mastery, understanding, self-expression. I really do want you to stay in one place. I want you to get things written down quickly because I wanna let you then move and go somewhere else. We're just getting an idea, right? Is that tape still over there? Oops, these all fell down. Okay, I'm gonna go around and fix things very quickly. This is TPR. This is game-based simulations. That one over there is music. That one, white one, is brain breaks. That is augmented virtual reality, and this is Tableau. I have markers kind of at different places, but there's a million markers on the desk there. If you're sitting by one of these, you'll probably need to get up and move. If you want to change groups, that's fine, but I really like for you to stay somewhere. Any questions? You good? You're going to need your tablets. Go. Go.